Hello everyone. Today we will study the second chapter called demand. So let us begin with these fundamental questions which economic theory seeks to explain and which may arise in your mind also. So the question says that why is that goods have prices, or why some goods are expensive while others are cheaper. So before answering to this question, you should know the meaning of goods, as you have learned in class 11 about the various terms which has different meanings in the subject economics. So in economics, all the physical objects are termed as goods, or the meaning of goods in the subject economics is any kind of product or any kind of commodities. So commodities can be of different types, like food items are also known as commodities, the bag which you carry, the shoe which you wear, like this. So in your daily life, whichever items, whichever products or commodities you use, those products or commodities are called as goods. Now coming back to the question, the answer to this question is goods have prices because of two reasons. The first reason is goods are useful to people. Since we are people and we consume lots of goods in our daily life, so therefore goods are very useful for us. And second one is they are scarce, which means they are limited. They are not freely available in an unlimited amount which we people would like to have or consume. Okay, since the goods are very useful for us and it is also scarce in nature, therefore we have to pay certain price for it. Why we have to pay certain price for it? Because it is not freely available as we want. And since the goods are useful and it is scarce in nature, so we have to pay for it, and such goods are known as economic goods. But there are some goods like air or sunlight which are also very useful for us, but they are not scarce. They are the free gifts of nature and we don't have to pay anything for them. Therefore, such goods are known as free goods. The economic goods are so important for people, therefore they are willing to pay for it, and that is how the demand for goods is created. And again, the economic goods are scarce in nature and the sellers are ready to sell it at different prices, and that is how supply of goods is created. But in case of free goods, we don't have to pay anything. Therefore, it is clear that prices of any good in the market is determined by the interaction of the two forces, namely demand and supply. Thus, the demand and supply are two most important tools in economic theory. So here in this chapter, we will discuss thoroughly about the demand and its various aspects. And the topic of supply will be taken up in the later chapters. Let's start with the meaning of demand. Normally we say that a demand is a desire or a want, but in economics the meaning of demand is slightly different. A desire to get any commodity does not become your demand unless it is backed by a purchasing power. Now purchasing power is ability to pay or power to pay. Thus, according to the real definition of demand, Demand for any commodity means the amount of the commodity which consumers are willing and able to purchase at a particular price during a particular time. So demand means willingness to purchase backed by your purchasing power. For example, you may have a desire for a car, but it becomes your demand only if you have sufficient money and you are willing to spend that money to purchase that car. While discussing demand in economics, certain points should be kept in your mind, and the first one is demand should always be expressed in relation to a particular price. So every time when we talk about demand, we should relate it with its price. It makes no sense if we don't relate the demand of a commodity with its price, because at different prices of a commodity, the different quantities of commodities will be demanded. For example, you may be willing to purchase a shirt if its price is rupees 500, but you are not ready to pay 800 rupees for that shirt. And now if that shirt cost rupees 200, then you may buy two shirts. Therefore, at different prices of a commodity, the quantity demanded is also different. Therefore, we should always relate the demand with its price. The second point is that demand should always be expressed with reference to a particular time period. If we say that the demand for car is 200, that it would be an incomplete statement. Therefore, we should always express demand with respect to its time period. For example, the demand for a car per week is 1500. The demand for car per year is 75,000. On the basis of the number of consumers for a product, demand is classified into two types. Number one is individual demand. So according to its definition, the quantity of a commodity that an individual consumer is willing to purchase at a given price during a given period of time. So individual demand is the demand for a commodity by a single consumer. For example, your mother purchasing the milk at a given price during a particular period of time is called as individual demand for milk. Now the second one is market demand, and its definition is the total quantity of a commodity that all the consumers are willing to purchase at a given price during a given period. So the market demand is the demand for a commodity by all the consumers in the market. For example, all the consumers in a market or many consumers in a market purchasing milk at a given price during a given period of time is known as market demand for milk. Demand for any commodity may be influenced by so many things, and those things are known as factors. So for example, if you are willing to purchase a cloth, and while purchasing your cloth you might have been influenced by so many things like liking for that cloth, or the price of that cloth, or the money you want to spend on that cloth, or the latest fashion or trend going on, and this happen with all of us. So these things are known as the factors determining demand, or also called as determinants of demand. Now, so the first one is price of the commodity, and price of the commodity is one of the most important factors that influence the demand for any commodity of the consumer. Now, if the price of any commodity increases, its quantity demanded decreases, and if the price of any commodity decreases, its quantity demanded increases. You have seen your mother purchasing lots of apples when the price of apples falls down. You have also seen your mother buying less of apples if the price of apples goes up. Now, second important factor is income of the consumer. As the income of the consumer displays his purchasing power. If the consumer's income rises, he would definitely buy lots of goods, and he spend his income on the various luxury items like television sets, a new car, a new home, like this. Now the third factor is consumers' taste and preferences. Consumer taste and preferences changes due to the change in fashion or trend, and due to which the consumer will shift from cheaper old-fashioned goods to costlier latest fashion goods. Therefore, demand will change if the taste and preferences of the consumer changes. Now the fourth factor is price of related goods. The demand for any commodity not only changes by its own price, but also it is affected by other related goods. Related goods may be either substitute goods or complementary goods. Now, substitute goods are those goods which satisfy the same type of need and hence can be used in place of one another. So, the example for substitute goods are tea and coffee, Coke and Pepsi, etc. If the price of coffee increases, then the consumers of coffee will shift from coffee to tea for their consumption. Here we see that the demand of tea is increasing, and it's not because its price is falling, but it's because the price of coffee is increasing. And similarly it happens in case of Coke and Pepsi. Therefore we can say that if the prices of related good increases or decreases, it also affects the demand of other goods. And the second one is complementary goods. Complementary goods are those goods which are jointly used to satisfy a given want. Example of such goods are petrol and car, sugar and tea. We see that if the price of petrol goes up, then the demand of car goes down, and vice versa. And it also happens in the case of sugar and tea. Therefore we can say that the demand for any commodity does not only depend on its own price, but it also depends on the related goods such as substitute goods or complementary goods. Now the fifth factor is consumers' expectations regarding future price change. Many of the consumers expect the price of certain commodities to fall or to increase in the near future, or if they expect that the price of certain commodities will go up in the near future, then they will buy a large quantities of it and store it up. And if they expect the price of certain goods to fall in the future, then they will not purchase at the moment, and they will further wait for the lower price in the future. For example, you can see that during this lockdown period, the prices of food items are increasing, but what is happening is the people are still purchasing it and storing it at their homes. Why? Because they are expecting the price of these food items to get increased in near future due to the extension of lockdown. Therefore, the expectations of consumers regarding the future price change is the most important factors which influences the demand for any commodity. We have learned that demand for any commodity depends on a large variety of factors, and it can be expressed in terms of a function called demand function. So the demand function states the relationship between the demand for a product and its factor. Now the algebraic expression for this demand function is given as D is the function of price of the commodity, income of the consumer, taste and preferences of the consumers, and expectations regarding the future price change of the consumers. Now if we consider the relation between the price and the demand only, at that time we will consider all other factors, the factor, this income of the consumer, taste and preference, and expectations. All these factors are assumed to be constant, which means they are assumed to be unchanged. Demand schedule is one way of showing the relationship between the price of the commodity and its quantity demanded. It is a tabular statement which shows that at a particular price or at a different price, the different quantities are being demanded, and this demand schedule is of two types. Number one is individual demand schedule. So individual demand schedule is the table which shows various quantities of a commodity that would be purchased at different prices by an individual during a given period of time. Now here we are taking one example. One table is given here, individual demand schedule for apples per week. So the different prices of apples are given in this box, and the quantity demanded of apples per kg per week is given here like this. So when the price of apple is rupees 100, its quantity demanded is 1 kg per week, and when the price of apple is 90 rupees per kg, then its quantity demanded is 2 kg per week. Likewise, as the price of apples is falling down, its demand is increasing gradually. So the data in the table clearly shows that when the price of apples is decreasing, its quantity demanded is increasing. This way, this table shows the individual demand schedule for apples. Another type of demand schedule is market demand schedule. It is the table which shows various quantities of a commodity that would be purchased at different prices by all the consumers during a given period of time at a particular price. So here is the example where the market demand schedule for apples per week is given. Here prices of apples are given, and in this market demand schedule, we have considered that in a given market or in a said market, there are only two consumers, A consumer and B consumer, whose quantity demanded for apples are given like this. So at rupees 100, the consumer A would purchase 1 kg of apple, but consumer B would purchase 2 kgs of apple. And likewise, if the price of apple is rupees 70, then the consumer A will purchase 6 kgs of apple and consumer B will purchase 7 kgs of apple. So the quantity demanded by consumer A and consumer B are different. Now adding their quantity demanded, we get total market demand like this. Therefore, this is the way to show how all the consumers in the market demanded different quantities of products at different prices by such tabular statement, which is known as market demand schedule. Demand curve is a graphical presentation of demand schedule, and it has two types: individual demand curve and market demand curve. Now to explain it, I have taken an example from our previous topic, that is individual demand schedule, where the price of apples are given and the quantity demanded for apples are also given. Now by plotting these values, the values of P and Q on a graph paper, we will get a demand curve. Now I have already plotted the x-axis, y-axis, and all the combinations are being plotted here. The first combination is 101. When the price of apple is 100, the quantity demanded for apple is 1. So here is the 1 point. And when the price of apple is 90 rupees per kg, then the quantity demanded for apple is 2. So this is the second point. And when the price of apple is rupees 80 per kg, the quantity demanded is 4 kg. So it is plotted here. And the fourth one is when the price of apple is rupees 70, the quantity demanded for apple is 6 kgs. So it is plotted here. Now when we join all these points or all these combinations, we will get a demand curve. So this D dash is a demand curve which slopes downwards. So basically demand curve is a downward sloping curve. So this graph shows the individual demand curve. Similarly, we can draw market demand curve. Now let us study about the law of demand. Law of demand. This law is one of the most important laws in economic theory. It was first stated by Professor Alfred Marshall, and according to this law, other things remaining the same, the quantity demanded of a commodity increases when its price falls and decreases when its price rises, which means that when the price of any commodity increases, its quantity demanded decreases, and when the price of any commodity decreases, its quantity demanded increases. So here other things means the other factors which influences our demand for any commodity. Like when we are considering the relation between the price of the commodity and the quantity demanded of the commodity, that time we should assume that all other factors like income of the consumer, price of related goods, taste and preferences of the consumers, expectations regarding future prices, all these factors should remain unchanged or constant, and these assumptions are known as assumptions of law of demand. Exceptions to the law of demand. Now, exception means something which is not included in a statement or in a rule. So, according to the law of demand, when the price of any commodity increases, its quantity demanded decreases, and vice versa. And due to this inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded of a commodity, we get a downward sloping demand curve. So generally a demand curve is downward sloping, and the demand curve is considered to be valid in most of the cases, but in some cases the law of demand does not hold, or it is not applicable to so many cases or so many goods. When the law of demand is not applicable for some goods or in some situations, then those situations or for those goods are known as exceptions to the law of demand. Now these are the exceptions to the law of demand. The first one is Giffen goods, second one is Veblen effect, third one is expectations regarding future prices, fourth one is emergencies, and the last one is goods of addiction. So number one is Giffen goods. This Giffen goods was found out by one of the renowned economists, Professor Robert Giffen, and the good was named after his name. And Giffen goods are those inferior goods whose quantity demanded increases as price increases, and vice versa. The main staple food of people of Ireland was potato, and the potato was considered as a cheapest food or low quality food, or we can also call as inferior good. So at that time when the potato price was high, people didn't stop buying the potatoes. So at the higher prices, the demand for potato does not went down. So at that time, the Professor Robert Giffen has realized that there are some inferior goods like potatoes whose demand never goes down even if its price increases or decreases, and that's how the inferior goods like potatoes was named as Giffen goods. And the inferior goods means that those goods whose quantity demanded decreases as income increases. As the income of consumer increases, the quantity demanded of some low quality product decreases. Second one is Veblen effect, which was found by Professor Thorsten Veblen, and according to him, he has denoted some of the luxurious items like gold, diamonds, precious metals, costly clothes as conspicuous consumption goods, and he has considered such goods as status symbol for some of the rich people. According to him, the rich people used to buy such goods to show their wealthiness or their richness. Therefore, when the prices of such goods increases, the rich people won't stop buying those goods, because in order to show their richness, they will continuously buy such products, and this phenomenon is known as Veblen effect. And in such cases or for such goods, the law of demand does not hold. Third one is expectations regarding future prices. So in this case, the law of demand does not hold or does not fit. Why? Because Due to the expectations regarding future prices, some people may buy more of goods even at the higher prices, and some of the people may buy less quantity of goods at lower prices. Therefore, in these expectations regarding future prices, the law of demand does not hold. Likewise, in fourth case, like in emergencies, the law of demand does not hold. Emergencies like war, strikes, like lockdowns or like famines, people would buy more quantities of food items due to the fear of shortage of goods in future. So in this case, in such emergencies, the law of demand does not hold, and we get an upward slope of demand curve. Now, the last one is goods of addiction. Now, goods of addictions like cigarettes, wines, in such goods, the law of demand does not fit, because people who are addicted to such goods, they won't stop buying those goods even at the higher prices. So in such cases, or in for such goods, the law of demand does not fit, and the demand curve will be upward sloping. So these all are the exceptions to the law of demand. Okay, hope you have understood the chapter demand, and from this chapter you will get questions for 2 marks, and here are the some important questions which may appear in the examinations. Number 1 is, mention 2 factors influencing the individual demand for a commodity. Second one is, state the law of demand. Third one is, what is meant by an inferior good. Fourth one is, what do you mean by demand for a good. Fifth one is, define a given good. And the last one is, mention any 2 exceptions to the law of demand. Please do these questions at your home. Thank you.